Okay, so we're now ready to cut a wing. I've set everything up roughly, and I will now take you through what we've got to do here. So first of all, we've got our block. Probably didn't see this first, so that's blocked out to the planform, to the leading edge here. We've got these stoppers here. Okay, so this distance here is 900mm. What that does is it gives you a working area when you're swapping around. That distance isn't actually critical, it can be whatever you like. What you don't want is it to be right up against the table, because otherwise you've got nowhere to put your weights, you've got nowhere to move the bow to. So you want to set it up, as I said before, make sure you read the instructions, all these distances are in there. I found the centre of here, this is just taped with masking tape. I found the centre on here, and I've marked the centre on my board. I'll talk about the board in a second and why we've got it. So the first stopper enables me to position the foam block in the right place front to back. The second stopper is a safety stopper. So I know when the wheel is behind that, I can't be on the core. I can't do any damage. So you can put that an arbitrary distance away, within reach, but make sure that gives you a good couple of inches off the front of the core. Okay, what else? If you come around here, you can see, so I've got a carefully calibrated piece of foam here, an offcut, that's supporting this here. There's a pivot here, which will be mounted, should be mounted on when you take it out. Mount that so that this popper is down, this swinging arm just pops on, it's a little pop stud here. And then you can see we've got 3 clips on here. The first clip is mounted on the top, and you swing those arms round, and then you hang this sinker with the little hook. Again, all of this is in that little pot of materials that I showed you at the start. All that's doing is providing some weight to pull the wire through the cord. Then we've got these 2 clips. This is important. So you'll see there are numbers on here, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 under there. This is where you get the differential in the pull. So the long end, the root end of any core will always be attached to this end of the bow, the 100% point. This distance, this percentage, is calculated by the ratio of the root to tip. So in fact it's not quite the root to tip, and you read the instructions, it's actually the distance from the front of the wire, the length of the pull cord from here to the middle of that pulley. So if that was 100mm and the same distance on this side was 80mm, that would mean we'd be attaching this clip at 80, like that. Simple as that. And then you've got the pulleys. The pulleys are there in order to be able to make sure that you route these pull wires to those clips and give it some and hold it in tension. So as it pulls through, these pull wires are going to pull the wire through. They're also the thing that's providing the current. These are the same wires that we were connecting when we were doing the blocking out. And they're going to come around here and connect to these points. I'll show you a bit more about that later. Okay, so that's the full setup. One final thing, you'll see there's a little jockey wheel under here. This is the weak point of the setup. By the time you get this, so we'll have a bigger wheel, and it will be a wheel that trails out. At the moment, this does seem to give a little bit of judder. It's not the best wheel in the world, but I'm going to fix that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to attach our templates. So this is a root template. I've got them the wrong way around. It's a good gotcha there. This is a root template here. We've got the root over here. And we've got a tip here. So what we're going to do is connect. So make sure this is on the board here. And you can see there's a little notch there. That's our leading edge. I've got some nails over here and some safety pins. No, not safety pins. Whatever they are, drawing pins. That's the word I was looking for. So what I'm going to do, get the template on that notch, put it on there, line it up, and I'm going to pop a nail in the front. Now the important thing here is, can't poke up because you don't want it to be interfering with the wire as it comes down. So we're just going to pop that in, pointing slightly down. You don't want these to be too big, the holes need to be pretty small, because otherwise they'll gouge the foam as they go in. So we're going to put one in at that end. As I showed you in the template making, you should have plenty of holes in here. You can't really have too many holes. You can have too few. You want to make sure this is absolutely grounded out. So I think I'll do 4 on this end here. Okay. And you'll see this is a very thin template.
So it's very important that you get the angle of these nails right.
So you want that really firm against it, you want it firm against the board, because actually in this setup, for reasons I'll show you, this is going to hang off the end. So now, for the sake of doing this, slightly dangerous, I need to do this the right way to make sure I don't get a leading edge and a trailing edge. So again, now my leading edge is here because I flipped it around so you can see. So again, just see that little notch, just a bit gouged there, and a bit of use. And we're going to do a lot of checks as well before we start cutting, so you know you can you don't need to worry too much at this stage. You know, if you make a mistake when you're putting these on, the crucial thing is that when you do your checks you pick it up. You will make the odd mistake when you're doing this for the first time, but it becomes a lot easier over time. So that one's a bit taller, so you can see I can stick a nice safety pin in there. And that's pretty good. I think that's good enough with 3, to be honest. Okay, so our templates are on. You can see that idle tab is always going to be at the back, so you can check that. Yeah, that's fine. So now we're going to put this back down the board. Now, you'll notice at this point I'm going to centralise that over the board. It only has to be rough. It's not super critical. You'll notice that the templates aren't resting on anything. In an ideal world, this board would be exactly the width of the block plus the templates. It isn't. I haven't found that to be an issue. The reason it needs to be raised up in this specific instance is because this template is so thin, because to get both wings out the same block, I've had to make this pretty thin. Because of the wire lug, the danger is that this will hit, this will actually ground out, and you won't follow the path of this template. You'll just get a nice straight line across the block, which doesn't really give you the section that you want. So I raised it up to allow for clearance for this. It is very tight, I can assure you it works, so we'll cross our fingers and hope when I demo it that it works. But it hasn't caused me any problems to have these suspended in the air. Okay, so what are we going to do now? We're going to triple check everything central, and then we're going to weight out our leading edge. So these weights need to go, I might put those the other way around actually, it's a bit easier. So the majority of the weight needs to be on the leading edge, so I'll use those big bricks like that. And the key here is trying to lock it down, make sure that it's firm to the board, nothing's going to move while you're cutting. Okay, so at this point you can now move this over the safety wire and you can put it on here. Now you'll see there's a little mark on here, that's telling me where centre is, so I can aim that on there and put it on. Okay, so there we go, that's about right. Now, I'm now going to do these pull cords. So they need to be, don't need to be super close, inch either side, probably alright. If you're doing a more severe taper and this is moving through more angle, you're going to need to give it a bit more room. But we'll do the pull cords. So the order you do this in is relatively critical. Doesn't matter which one of these you do, but you need to make sure you've got some tension. So I'm going to pull this round, this is the tip end, pull this round, so I'm going around that one, down here, and I know that the ratio is 83%, or about 83.5 actually, so I'm going to connect it there. The amount of tension that you put in at this point doesn't matter, you just need some, okay? So now I've got some tension, this is holding, I can actually remove that and you'll see that will just sit. Now, we can do the same. I want to tweak that a little bit. It's the first cut of the day, so it's not gone the board quite the same as it did last time. It doesn't matter too much. So I'm going to go round there, and this one, the long end, will always be at 100%. Okay, whatever wing you're cutting, the long end will sit at 100%. So again, I'm going to triple check. Have I got this the right way around? Have I got a root here? Yeah, I have. I've got a tip here. Yeah, I have. That's fine. So at this point, I've got everything roughly set up, but you may or may not have some tension. So you see there's a lot more tension on this left hand side at the moment than on the right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull that. Again, not super scientific, just looking for about the same. And you can feel, by just tapping, you can feel still a little bit low on that side, I think. Just pull it a little bit more. Okay, so that's better now. Okay. Now, if you get a big imbalance there, what you'll find is as you cut, one of them goes slack, the wire will stop, and it's a dead core. Okay, so this is a really important step. I'm just going to tweak that. The amount of tension isn't critical, the sameness of it, if you like, is. Okay. So at this point, I'm pretty much ready to cut. One final thing I need to do, make sure the wire, there's a big taper, you need to be pointing this wire and you need to check it's following the right arc, so it ends up coming out here. You don't need to do this very much on an almost straight taper like this. The instructions tell you how to do that process. Final thing is these weights. If you're doing a bottom core, they need to be forward. So I'll put them a little bit further forward. I'm not going right to the tip because I don't want this bottom here to ground out. But that's fine, that looks good. And we've got this in the centre. So I think we're ready to cut now, really. So I'm going to just triple check everything. Now, one thing that's really important, just in case if you had that underneath at this point and you started cutting, nothing's going to happen. All you're going to do is you're going to burn the front of your core. So make sure that's well clear. Again, all the safety stuff. What's the path of my wire? Is there anything in the path of my wire? No, there isn't. I'm safe, I've got the power on. Everything's connected up. I've actually turned the power down slightly. You can definitely cut these too fast. The hotter you cut them, the more foam you'll remove, so you want to do it fairly slow. So I've turned it down here. And this is the first one of the day, so let's hope it works. So I'm going to cut now. You'll see it should start to pull through. It's totally hands off. And if you just come around here, you'll see this swinging arm just starting to drop here. Don't be tempted to get too close to the swinging arm, okay? Nothing's going to happen, okay? When it comes to the end, it's going to idle in these little stoppers that we put on the templates. So there's no need to try and catch it, anything else. All you're really looking for at this point is if there's a major discrepancy between how much the root is moving relative to the tip. So you want them to be moving at a rate that they're both going to come out at the same point. And they are, that's about 2 pieces away. Yeah, we look pretty much bang on. Let's say if this was a dead straight taper, both of these would be at 100% because there is that little discrepancy in where it is. There's that horrible wobble that the wheel makes, and I'm afraid there'll be a few people with some tiny ripples in their cores here because of that wheel, but we're going to fix that by the time you guys are using it. So it's getting pretty much all the way through now. It's looking like this is going to be a nice cut. Must have got the tension about right. A little bit tight on that end maybe. I might move that out a little bit more next time, a bit further this way. And there's that little ripple. It's not the template, that's the wheel not being quite round and not rolling very well. As you can see, it's going to come out I think at the root a smidge in front of the tip. So I might want to just tweak the exact point of that weight. And then once it's come out, I'm going to let it, what you see is it will come out the tip first. You mustn't be tempted to turn it off too soon, you must let that wire come all the way out. And that's it, that's the cut completed. So now I'm going to turn that off and give that wire a few seconds to cool down. Okay, so the very first thing we do after we've cut is we get our carefully calibrated piece of foam and we lift this. Okay, so that makes the system safe, there's no more tension on it, so we can now manipulate the wire. Take that off, that was definitely a bit tight on there, I was a bit lucky there. I didn't have my wheel quite the right angle I think, probably, but it'll be perfectly alright. I'll just pull it forward, lift it up, straight over the safety, so again I know I'm not going to be anywhere near the core. Lift these off, and what you'll find is, if I lift that away, you see we've got a nice smooth, it's a few tiny ripples, these templates have been used a little bit now, so they're not the best. You can see this tiny ripple, I don't know if you can see that, that's actually to do with the wheel, it's nothing to do with the template, they're exactly one diameter of a wheel apart. A bit unfortunate that, but see, perfectly usable.